Hey everyone, I'm Roxanne and welcome back to the Living Free from Abuse channel, where knowledge is power. And today I want to talk about the ills of tiger parenting. But Roxanne, you're not Asian. How can you make any criticisms about tiger parenting? Best believe I'm about to, and if you don't like it, cry about it. For everyone else, buckle your seatbelts and let's jump in. Now, for my last video, I discussed the prevalence of child abuse within Jamaican culture and essentially how it's ruined the Jamaican economy as well as riddled the country with crime and violence. I shared my opinion that children raised violently grow up to become violent adults, and how kids living in constant fear of beatings or emotional abuse don't live up to their full intellectual potential and struggle academically, psychologically, and can even develop learning disabilities and behavioral issues. This issue of normalized child abuse has left Jamaica with a dearth in high-skilled educated labor, and a 2022 PISA assessment saw Jamaican children lagging behind in reading, math, and science. I found quite a few Jamaicans who agreed and even made reference to how children in East Asian countries overall outperform children in academics globally, especially in STEM subjects. STEM meaning science, technology, engineering, and math. However, I'm not about to jump on the bandwagon and say typical East Asian parenting styles, also known as tiger parenting, are somehow a better option. Now, while it's true that East Asian cultures like that of China and Japan, particularly those influenced by Confucianism, place a strong emphasis on education and hard work, where this emphasis is rooted in a belief that education is a pathway to personal and societal improvement. And it's certainly in contrast to the culture of hypersexuality and gun violence prevalent in Jamaica and other countries and communities within the African diaspora. But there's definitely a dark side to tiger parenting, and it doesn't just affect the nuclear family, but even East Asian cultures on a national level. So what is tiger parenting? Tiger parenting is a strict parenting style that emphasizes academic achievement, success in high-status extracurricular activities, and discipline. Tiger parents have high expectations for their children and push them to excel. However, the push of tiger parents for their children to succeed academically and career-wise is deeply intertwined with the fact that in East Asian cultures, shame and honor play a significant role in shaping social interactions and individual behavior. East Asian cultures prioritize the collective and not the individual, and from early childhood, persons feel the pressure to maintain the honor of their family and community, experiencing shame when their actions reflect poorly on those groups. So the push for children to do well academically isn't just motivated by a parent's desire for their child to experience personal growth and success, but is also motivated by the desire for that child to bring honor to their family and even improve that family's social rank in their community. And when motivations are driven by the honor of the collective, the family or community, many times a child's individual and personal needs are neglected, and the results are measurable. While countries like China have been a global leader in economic growth, and the World Bank projects that economies in East Asia and the Pacific will continue to grow faster than most of the world, overall happiness and mental health is not proportionate to these nations' economic growth. According to Japan Health Policy Now, Japan has the highest number of people hospitalized for mental health issues per capita. And despite noticeably decreasing numbers over the past decade, according to a Statista 2024 report, Japan still has one of the highest suicide rates among high-income OECD countries.
Japan is facing a devastating side effect of the pandemic, an alarming spike in suicides. The country has historically seen an increase in male suicides after natural disasters and social upheaval, but this time it's almost exclusively among women.
There are no samurai left in Japan today. There are no kamikaze pilots either. All that remains is a feeling that suicide can be beautiful.
The suicidal tendency among Japanese authors has been extremely high. And if you just list them going through the decades, there are many who took their lives. And the pattern is totally out of shape with the rest of the world. There is nowhere else where the suicide of novelists is so prevalent.
And the condition of human rights in China are a serious concern, with numerous reports documenting violations like restrictions on freedom of expression, assembly, and religion, as well as the prevalence of forced labor, arbitrary detention, and torture. And despite China being the world's second largest economy with a burgeoning population of a millionaire class, many Chinese still seek to escape China due to its communist regime, inflicting political persecution and other human rights issues.
Tens of thousands of Chinese migrants have been taking a dangerous route through Latin America to the United States, where they plan to seek asylum, risking everything in their quest for better lives. We learn why, despite the risks, many more Chinese are willing to undertake the same perilous journey.
So what is it about East Asian tiger parenting that, despite attaining high rates of scholastic achievement, still leads to mental health challenges both in children and adults? Well, according to an article in Very Well Mind by Catherine Chan, tiger parents micromanage their children's lives, and the approach limits the child's socialization with friends in favor of studying or participating in high-status extracurricular activities, often using emotional threats and corporal punishment. This parenting style also impairs a child's ability to make independent decisions by constant control and often curtails the child's right to privacy. According to Chan, tiger parents tend to be overly strict, and if a child fails, they are reprimanded for bringing shame to the family. Tiger parents are often authoritarian, using a fear-based approach where children cannot talk back to their elders or challenge their opinions. Children lack any sort of autonomy, and success is based on power and status and how much honor they can bring to the family. Careers or achievements bringing such honor include becoming a doctor or lawyer, getting straight A's, making lots of money, and winning competitions. Emotional intelligence, creativity, critical thinking, self-determination, relationship building, and other soft skills are not seen as important. And the results of this lack of soft skills development can be seen in real time. Japan is facing a growing issue of social isolation and loneliness, with a significant number of individuals, particularly young people and retirees, experiencing withdrawal from society. The phenomenon, referred to as hikikomori, involves prolonged social isolation, with individuals spending extended periods at home without any social interaction. And in my personal opinion, looking at the human rights situation in China under the Chinese Communist Party, should we be surprised that a parenting method which creates an authoritarian household and family structure might result in a nation with an authoritarian government? According to Catherine Chan, children who grow up with tiger parents lack a nurturing and unconditionally loving environment. Overly strict and punitive parenting styles may cause children to have an increased risk of anxiety, low self-esteem, and depression, be more likely to be psychologically maladjusted, have difficulty with decision-making on their own, have difficulty forming close relationships with others and fending for themselves, have a greater fear of making mistakes as they don't want to disappoint their parents, and have an increased risk of self-harm and suicidal behavior among Asian children and young adults. The results of tiger parenting not only can result in mental health challenges, but in the case of Jennifer Pan, even ended up in deadly results. The Pan family were ethnic Chinese refugees from Vietnam who lived in Markham, Ontario, Canada, and had high expectations for their children. Jennifer was made to take music theory as well as figure skating, where she trained most days of the week.
As a young pianist, she was exceptional. She was winning all the competitions year after year. She was the best of the best. I mean, the dedication that her parents put behind her, the thousands of dollars a year spent on all the competitions was just incredible.
Her aspirations to become an Olympic figure skating champion ended, however, when an injury resulted in a torn knee ligament. According to her high school friend Karen K. Ho, Jennifer's father, Han, was seen as a classic tiger dad. Jennifer's parents picked her up at the end of school each day and closely monitored her extracurricular activities. They never allowed her to date while attending high school or attend dances out of fear these activities would distract from her academic commitments.
One day at one of the lessons, she just started to sob, she started to break down, and I had never seen that from her. And she says, Fernando, my parents, they don't trust me where I go. They follow me around. They don't want me to go out with my boyfriend. He's not acceptable to my father. He won't allow me to waste time to go out with a cook.
However, Jennifer's grades in high school were somewhat average, except in music, but she was able to deceive her parents into thinking she earned straight A's by forging her report cards. Unbelievable. But when Jennifer failed her calculus class in grade 12, Ryerson University rescinded her early admission, not being able to dare tell her parents what happened. Jennifer basically just pretended she was attending university. But when she left the house, giving her parents the impression she was on her way to school, she sat in cafes, taught piano, and worked in a restaurant to earn money. In order to maintain the charade, Jennifer told her parents she had won scholarships, falsely claiming she had accepted an offer into the pharmacology program at the University of Toronto, even going to the extent of purchasing secondhand textbooks and watching videos related to pharmacology in order to create notebooks full of purported class notes she could show her parents. Jennifer also requested permission from her parents to stay near campus with a friend, but who was really in fact her boyfriend, Daniel Chi Kwang Wang, who was an active marijuana dealer and managed a Boston Pizza. Jennifer later told her parents that she had started working as a volunteer at the hospital for sick children. But Han and Bish, I'm going to call her Bish because it's going to be really unfortunate if Jennifer's mom's real name is Bitch. Anyway, Han and Bish soon became suspicious when they realized Jennifer didn't have a hospital ID badge or uniform, so they followed her to work and quickly discovered it was all a ruse. Her father, Han, wanted to throw her out of the house. And by the way, disowning a child is also a feature of tiger parenting if the child brings the dreaded dishonor to the family. But Jennifer's mother, Beach, persuaded him to allow her to stay on the condition, however, that she finish her high school studies and never contact her boyfriend Daniel again. According to Jennifer, her parents also did not approve of Daniel because of his mixed Chinese and Filipino ancestry. Jennifer wasn't allowed to go anywhere except for her piano teaching job, even though she still secretly continued to remain in contact with Daniel. But by 2009, because of the extensive restrictions the Pans had placed on their now 23-year-old daughter, Daniel broke off the relationship. In the spring of 2010, Jennifer was introduced to Ricardo Duncan, who Jennifer claims she paid $1,500 to kill her father in the parking lot of his workplace, but Duncan refused. Jennifer and Daniel got back together, however, and orchestrated a plan to hire a professional hitman for $10,000, calculating that with the death of her parents, Jennifer would then inherit about $500,000. Jennifer and Daniel connected with a man named Lenford Roy Crawford, Eric Sean Carty, and David Milviganum. On November 8, 2010, Jennifer unlocked the front door of the family home, and when she went to bed, then called Milviganum. Shortly afterwards, Milviganum and two other men entered the house through the front door, all armed. After demanding money and ransacking the main bedroom, the men took both parents to the basement and shot them several times. Bish died from her gunshot wounds, but Jennifer's father, Han, survived. The men took $2,000 from Jennifer and then left. Police at first felt the Pan family's wealth had drawn the predators, but began to become suspicious when they found that valuables in the home hadn't been stolen. Jennifer's father, Han, who survived his wounds, woke up from a coma and later told police he saw Jennifer speaking to the hitman in a friendly manner. Jennifer, who at first was seen as a victim, now became a suspect and eventually confessed to interrogators that she had hired the men. What was interesting about Jennifer Pan's interrogation was that the detective, after building rapport with her, allowed Jennifer for the first time to communicate her feelings about her parents' strict control of her life, their high scholastic expectations, constant comparisons they made of other more academically successful classmates, and the frustrations of not being able to see her boyfriend despite being a grown adult of 23 years, which led to a depression. Of the comparisons her parents would make to other students, Jennifer said her parents would say, "We wish that you could have been that person," and said, It's what I've heard all my life. Detectives were able to put 2 and 2 together, and Jennifer, along with her boyfriend Daniel, and the 3 hitmen were charged with first-degree murder, attempted murder, and conspiracy to commit murder. Guys, not to say that any parent deserves this level of retaliation from overly strict authoritarian parenting, but it certainly shows the dark path a child can take when they feel desperate and left with no choices.
When you look back at our high school, everybody was expected to be a doctor, a dentist, a lawyer, or an engineer, and there's really no other choice. Maybe an accountant. I mean, we had a lot of immigrant families, people from Hong Kong, Taiwan, Vietnam, all over the place. And we all had the same kind of pressure from our parents. That's hard enough already, but for Jennifer, she was not anywhere close to being top of class. Not even in an earshot.
And in a household that expects academic achievement, particularly in STEM subjects or careers, what about children who aren't mathematically inclined, who are more creative, sensitive, and artistic? I found the Canadian film Double Happiness from 1994 just an excellent narrative about more creatively inclined children living under the high expectations of Chinese Canadian parents. The story follows Jade Lee, who's an aspiring actress living at home with her traditional Chinese family, who have already by the start of the film disowned Jade's older brother Winston. Jade's desire for success as an actress conflicts with her family's traditional Chinese values, and she also suffers through arranged dates with prosperous young Chinese men, while secretly in a relationship with a white Canadian man. Despite her attempts to try to please them, Jade's parents don't understand her aspirations to be an actress, and it eventually ends with her leaving home. I thought one of the later scenes in the movie with Jade getting out of the car of another family arranged date and running away in frustration just amazing in how it encapsulated a woman trapped by family and cultural expectations. Anyway, most will say, Roxanne, you don't have the right to criticize tiger parenting. You're not Asian, and in that culture, that's how they bring up their children. Listen, abuse is abuse no matter what culture or country it happens in. Human beings have universal needs, especially as children, to be loved not for the honor and good reputation they can bring to the family, but to be loved unconditionally and seen for the inherent value we all have by virtue of being human. Hence the Universal Declaration of Human Rights adopted by the UN that recognizes the inherent dignity of the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family. So whether it's the physically abusive method of child rearing in Jamaica or the authoritarian achievement-focused method of tiger parenting in China, the scientific data is there that shows that these methods inflict psychological harm on children and have real nationwide consequences for the adults they'll grow to be. But that's it for this episode of Living Free from Abuse. If you like this video and want to see more of my content, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Laters.